What's up, everybody? It's Men of Low Moral Fiber here, and welcome to episode 3 of my OP8 Melee Zer0 playthrough. The last episode, which was obviously episode 2, concluded with me meeting up with Lilith in the Frostburn Canyon, and then her trying to teleport me into the Bloodshot Dam. As we know, though, she fails to teleport you into the Bloodshot Dam, and to actually get into the Bloodshot Dam, you're going to need a Bandit Technical. And so this video will cover me going out into the dust and meeting up with Ellie and acquiring a Bandit Technical, and then on through the first section of the Bloodshot Stronghold. I'll actually meet up with Roland and see him get taken, and make it to the end of that and to the dam map, the Bloodshot Ramparts, before this episode actually ends. Now we're in the dust, and we're going to have to deal with this Ellie quest a bit. In the original trailer, or I guess it wasn't a trailer, some of the first footage I ever saw for Borderlands 2, some of the first promotional footage, showed you actually breaking into the Bloodshot Stronghold by shooting down a chain that was actually holding up that door. And that looked really cool and everything, so I was kind of surprised when I actually got into the game and I had to come out here and find the dust and Ellie and everything and get the technical parts. But, you know, I was actually pretty pleased with that overall because I thought Ellie was really funny. I think the clan wars are among the best quests in this entire game. I heard that there are some people that didn't really like the clan wars, for whatever reason, because it was too long or drawn out or everything, or something like that. But I thought the quests were all really well written and very entertaining to play through and everything. I kind of liked the idea of the family feud. And a little more backstory on Moxie and Scooter and the whole, you know, family that they have going there. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I definitely enjoyed all of Ellie's involvement. I thought she was funny all the way through DLC 4, where she talks about getting the boob armor and stuff. It was all pretty funny to me. For this section, I'm going to be playing it back a little bit faster because this is obviously me just chasing down some bandits and getting parts from their cars. The one thing I do recommend here is equipping an amp shield, preferably the B since it's the strongest if you have it, before you actually get in the vehicle, because then all of your machine gun fire will actually have amp damage associated with it, and you'll be able to take out the bandit technicals a lot quicker that way. Looks like we have almost all the parts now. We'll get one more part and then head back to Ellie and go ahead and make that technical. It's important to note that when you're returning to Ellie, she has you like put all the parts on the truck and then wait for it to be scanned into the catch-a-ride system. Well, you actually don't have to do that. As soon as you complete the quest objective, you can actually go ahead and spawn the bandit technical and go ahead and drive it away before Ellie's ever really even done talking. So something that you don't have to wait there if you're not interested in waiting on. Like I said, as soon as you do that, you can go ahead and get the bandit technical, and then you'll be on your way to the Bloodshot Stronghold a little bit quicker. Luckily, we'll be getting back to some combat now, and we'll be through this kind of intermission section that we have right now. I got a question from, I think it was from a subscriber, that asked me what my favorite sports teams are. And I was born in Oklahoma. I actually got a question that asked if I was an Okie, I think this morning actually. So yes, I was originally born in Oklahoma, and because of that, I am now a big fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder. When I lived in Oklahoma, we actually never had a professional sports team of any type across any major sport. You know, obviously we didn't have a hockey team, but, we didn't have a baseball, football, or basketball team either. And so now that they have a basketball team, I think it's, definitely my favorite NBA team and the one I always root for, because we never really had one to root for when we were in Oklahoma anyway. Most Oklahoma residents kind of default to the Dallas Cowboys as far as their NFL team. The Houston Texans didn't exist yet when I lived there, so maybe some of them like Houston now as well. But because of that, I'm kind of a Cowboys fan. But I also root for just Oklahoma college players that have made it to the NFL on various teams. I always root for them to do well. So because of that, I might root for Kenny Stills to do well on, the Saints, or Adrian Peterson I always root for to have a good year and everything like that. And I'm always sad to see Oklahoma players get cut like the Saints kicker Garrett Hartley did. It's alright though, he ended up winning a Super Bowl, so good for Garrett Hartley. Saints actually have quite a few Oklahoma players. I think they have Curtis Lofton as well. And there's some other teams that I just kind of root for in burst as well because my friends happen to be big fans of certain teams and everything. And I know a lot of people like to hate on their friends' teams and everything, but I don't usually root against my friends' teams. You know, for example, my friend, one of them, he really likes the 49ers, and so I'll usually root for the 49ers to do well, so long as they're not playing a team that I have a vested interest in. Luckily, now we're finally into the Bloodshot Stronghold, and there's actually something going on. You don't have to kill any of the enemies in the first room. You can actually just work through this room with the garage door, and then I'd recommend bursting all these barrels because they can be more dangerous than the actual enemies. And once you've cleared this room, you can pretty much go straight through to the big multi-level room with the giant, I don't know what that is, giant pit of swirling liquid in the middle. I think it's called Satan's Suckhole is what the room title is called. So be on the lookout to get to that room as soon as you've actually got the garage door to open here. You can actually skip all these dudes, you don't need to kill them. And then you can actually skip over this machine gun room as well if you're just trying to get to Roland. There are no staged doors or anything here to keep you from moving on like there are in other parts of the map. So we're just going to get a follow-through bonus to keep moving quickly and keep my mini-must follow up just a little bit so I could make it through that entire room under the cloak of deception. Now that we're in Satan's Suckhole, I was actually able to remember that map name because it's kind of memorable. We'll be killing all but one dudes here to go ahead and get Mad Mike to spawn. I notice he usually spawns when there's just one or two Marauders left. And because Mad Mike always is going to spawn with a rocket launcher, you're going to have to be pretty careful about when you actually allow Mad Mike to spawn. Back to kind of the sports team tangent that we were on. My favorite hockey team has to be the Detroit Red Wings. That might kind of sound kind of weird, but I had a friend who his dad was actually, born and raised in Detroit, and my friend was actually born in Detroit but only lived there for some minuscule amount of time, like a month or something, before he actually was moved to Flagstaff, Arizona, where I did most of my maturing, by the way. And they were always big Detroit fans, big hockey fans. I wasn't even really into hockey before I met that guy. And, it was pretty cool to have a hockey team that was actually kind of cool to root for. I didn't have anyone who was geographically near me. I guess I could have rooted for the Stars or the Coyotes once we actually moved to Arizona. But, it wasn't really, I wanted to root for Detroit. That's who they rooted for. We also pulled for the Coyotes, and because I lived in Arizona, I also root for the Cardinals and Suns quite a bit, and the Diamondbacks. As far as baseball goes, the Diamondbacks are definitely my team. They're not that great nowadays, I don't think, but they're pretty fun to watch. They had some guy who's led the league in strikeouts for like the last few years, but he hits a lot of home runs too, so I always root for that guy. Alright, we finally got Mad Mike to spawn. Like I said, he's always going to spawn with a rocket launcher. Depending on what rocket launcher he spawns with, he can be very, very dangerous. So definitely watch out for that, because you don't want to be caught halfway across that rather large room when he happens to spawn with an elemental E-Tech launcher, or he's going to, create some really bad situations for you. Get my follow-through bonus from these guys, and then I will be moving on. These are more rooms where you don't need to kill anybody really to get through. Only, kill enough so that you'll be able to get through to survive, basically if you're trying to run through it anyway. A lot of times I try to kill all the enemies in this particular playthrough. I guess I'm going with a more ninja archetype where I don't necessarily kill every enemy, but only the necessary ones. There are actually games that make a bigger deal out of that mechanic than Borderlands 2 does. For example, Dishonored actually has like incentives and everything for not killing every enemy. Obviously, Borderlands 2 is more of a kill everything on the map type game, but you can skip some people and enemies if you're so inclined. We're getting closer to the end of this video now, and that's definitely a good thing, because the next video will, start off with a pretty action-heavy sequence trying to get through towards the Warden and rescue this guy here, which you obviously recognize as Roland, and that'll be pretty cool. In this episode, I did talk quite a bit about things that were un-Borderlands related, such as my interest in professional sports teams here in the States. That's just because I got, you know, a few questions on that and everything, and some questions on where I'm from and stuff actually, so I wanted to go ahead and cover those things for you guys. If you have any other questions that you'd like me to talk about or any other topics you'd like touched on while I have some time during this particular episodic Melee playthrough, where the episodes are going to be 10 to 15 minutes long, we should definitely have time for some of those topics, so let me know if there's anything you guys would like to see covered, and I'll try to cover that for you guys. The rest of this video will conclude with me, you know, working my way towards the dam area. I will leave a link to the second episode and eventually the fourth episode when it is released in the description of this video. The fourth episode's not recorded yet, but it will be coming soon, and I hope to, you know, see you guys on that one as well. If you guys haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, please do that. It would help me out quite a bit. Otherwise, I thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.